So this is the part of the meeting where, or excuse me, the forum where we have the member experience sharing. So we've actually had an extended member experience sharing with Linda and Lachlan and the survey they did at DAL. But now we're moving into sort of more of the 10-minute lightning talk, I guess you would call them, parts of the meeting. And so our first up is going to be Maggie Neilson, who is the Academic Librarian and Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Coordinator at Acadia University. And she is going to talk about welcoming a diverse library community. So I'm going to leave it up to you. Go ahead, please, Maggie. And if anybody has any questions along the way, please ask. But we will also have, at the end of all the lightning talks, because we want to make sure everybody gets their 10 minutes, we'll have the Q&A at the very end of the lightning talks. So please hold your questions if you can. And all of our presenters will be able to speak at the end to answer questions. Unless you're really, really, really desperate to ask a question. Thank you, Maggie. Take it away.
Great. Thanks, Cynthia. And I guess I'm getting muted, so I don't get that echo.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. There's a bit of an echo, though. Oh, that's better now. Great. Thanks. And thanks for everyone being there today and everyone online who's going to have a listen to my presentation. I wish I could have joined you in person, but I'm at home with a sick dog, so I'm going to be presenting from my living room, and hopefully, you know, mailman doesn't arrive and get the dogs going, so I'll have to mute for a moment if you start to hear a little bit of chaos going on here. But with that, I'm going to dive right in because I have a lot to kind of throw at you today. So the purpose of my presentation is really just to tell you a little bit about my role at the Vaughan Memorial Library as the EDI coordinator, and describe some of the projects I've been a part of, as well as giving nods to my colleagues' work, because it's definitely not just myself who's involved with a lot of these initiatives. My colleagues have done a great job at integrating principles of EDI into their everyday work, and I want to be able to acknowledge the excellent things that are going on in the library that I have little to nothing to do with. And really, the whole purpose of this is to kind of hopefully spark an idea or two about what you might want to be doing in your library. I'm doing a real rapid fire sort of coverage of some of the things I've been working on, so not meant to really give you a lot of detail on these projects, but more just an overview of the types of things that I've been doing and collaborating on, and hopefully maybe it'll spark a little bit of creativity for yourselves in your library. So with that, I'm just going to dive right in. So I am the EDI coordinator, as Cynthia had mentioned, and this is kind of in addition to my role as a liaison librarian, which is our core model that we have at the Vaughan Memorial Library, but we also have coordinating roles, areas that we're responsible for as well. And so mine is equity, diversity, and inclusion, and I've been officially in this role probably just for the last couple of years. But there's a number of different things that kind of go into that, but really at the core of it, I like, or to inform my work, I kind of imagine the library on, you know, different planes, or having a lot of different layers that have to be considered in terms of thinking about equity, diversity, and inclusion. So that includes, you know, our physical space, our virtual space, our collections, programming, services, and our excellent people that work within the library. So these are all the different types of layers or areas of the library that I'm thinking about when I think about EDI. And what my role is to think about how I can help all of our patrons interact and engage meaningfully with all of those different parts. And of course, the focus is on underrepresented and marginalized communities and groups of folks, and thinking about how each of those different areas of the library can be more inclusive and welcoming and diverse. So that kind of work takes a lot of different forms. It can be little projects, big projects, training and education services, as well as committee work. So the things that I do sort of in the more collaborative policy area as well. So this kind of encompasses all the different types of things that one could do in a library to be more welcoming and inclusive of diverse communities of folks. So these are just examples of some of the small things that have gone at the library, but they can have really big impacts. And that's something that I want to emphasize, is that even if you think something's a really small gesture, it can be really meaningful to the folks who are maybe lacking representation or marginalized. So little things can actually make a big difference. So my pronoun button and sticker project, that was something that I spoke about at the LGBTQ forum that we had earlier on for CAAL, which was a great pleasure to share that project. Something that I just launched is a craft baskets for kids. So this is an acknowledgement of mostly our student parents, but also we have parents on campus, faculty and staff as well. But we wanted to have something available for student parents coming into the library so that they could study and do their work, and there'd be entertainment for their kids. So we have different age group craft baskets available with markers and Play-Doh, coloring books, pencil crayons, pipe cleaners, all kinds of different things, and they're separated into different age appropriate categories, so students can come and ask for them when they bring their children into the library. Something we're working on right now also is having pride flags to signal our safe space, both on the entrance of the library, just stickers to signal that we are a safe and inclusive space, as well as having those on our electronic signage as well. And this was actually an idea that I picked up from the CAAL-LGBTQ forum. It was mentioned during one of the sessions about how important even that small signal can be with having a flag on your front entrance. So that's where the idea came from. And it's spaces like this where we can actually get some really great ideas about making our spaces more inclusive. Another thing that we're working on is breastfeeding signage, so welcoming breastfeeding mothers into our library. This is something that Anthony Pash, one of my colleagues, is spearheading. He's been very active on campus in terms of childcare and child-centered initiatives, so this is something he's bringing forward. So I want to give him props for that, and it's an excellent initiative. And then another thing that's going on is Fruit Bowl Fridays. So this is something that Brittany Wenzel, my colleague, has put together. And every Friday, students can come and get free fruit from the library. And this is something that I think is particularly important because I know that, and I'm sure this is the same at many campuses, that many of our students are dealing with food insecurity. So this is a small thing that we can do to help them out in that area. So these are just a few examples of little things that we can do to welcome people into our library. Then there's sort of the bigger projects that can make bigger impacts, and that's what we're hoping for, when we embark on any of these projects. The first is the website accessibility audit that we're conducting with Lisa Snyder from Access Changes Everything. So this has been actually expanded now to include other resources, including the Novanet catalog, LibGuides, and Islandora. And for us, that would be Chipman's Corner and Acadia Scholar. So we're actually going to be getting our platforms assessed for their accessibility for folks with disabilities, and that's a big and significant project that I'm really excited to see the outcomes of. And we have something like the Garden of Reading, which brings in diverse voices in the form of leisure reading to our students, which is important to have access to diverse authors and content. And now we've also brought in children's books into that collection as well, again, to help our student parents who are in the library. Then there's library displays. This is something that Carol Hadgester-Cody, our research services assistant, and Brittany Wenzel are working on regularly, and often they are culturally significant. For example, right now we have the Africville display going on, and we have the Mi'kmaq Heritage Month in October that they do displays for, and these are also often in consultation with student groups. And this is some excellent work that they're doing, so I wanted to give them proper acknowledgement for that. I'm also working on the 8-Pointed Star Spine Label project. So this is originally from Pictou-Antigonish Regional Libraries. Many thanks to Trisha Shell for connecting me with Gerald Glode, who had designed an 8-pointed star to signify Indigenous materials in their collection. So right now I'm working with Sabrina Whitman, our Indigenous Events Coordinator at Acadia, to implement the star, but we're actually going to be working with communities, Glooscap and Annapolis Valley First Nations, to decide on some selection criteria and what types of materials the community would like to see reflected in that. The other big project that's just begun is an Indigenous research guide done in collaboration with the Indigenous Student Society of Acadia. This is going to be student-centered, student-led, and I'm going to be working with them to help curate different sources that they'd like to sort of highlight on the research guide, and that includes Mi'kmaq scholars. Some stuff that's coming up in the future, we're getting a Rick Hansen physical accessibility audit done on the library space. Someone on campus has just been certified, so we're next in line after another building is completed. And after the 8-pointed star spine label project is completed, Sabrina and I will work on a signage translation project for the library to include Mi'kmaq translation. Part of my role also is providing training and education for my colleagues. So something I spoke about in the last forum was the gender and sexuality training. Brought in the Valley Youth Project to discuss this with staff. I've also created a number of just general how-tos for staff in the library surrounding accessibility in Microsoft Word, adjusting screens for patron comfort and visibility. So when you're working with someone at the desk, ensuring that you're able to adjust the screen properly if they are having troubles with visibility. And I'm also working on a guide to connecting students with accessible materials. Another sort of big project that ties into this, but also into the bigger projects, is an accessible teaching and learning guide that we're working on with Lisa Snyder from Access Changes Everything. And this is actually being informed by an accessibility survey that we had completed in the fall term. So that's going to help inform the content of this guide as well as just her expertise. The next thing that I do is provide some services. So I connect students with disabilities to CAAL and Bookshare, and this is a partnership with Accessible Learning. And I've done some training on this topic in the School of Education as well. So I'm able to, through Accessible Learning, connect students who need accessible copies of books for free through CAAL and Bookshare. So it's an excellent program, and I think I have over 30 students now that I provide free books to. We also do book digitization upon request. So if there's something that a student needs access to and we aren't able to get it through CAAL and Bookshare or through any other means, we are perfectly open and happy to digitize a print book that's in our collection to provide to a student who needs it. And I also do pop-up reference at Walkahonic, which is the Student Indigenous Center. So every week I go there for a few hours to provide in-person research help in their space. And finally, I'm not going to go over all these committees. It's a lot of fingers in different pots, but it's really to demonstrate that a lot of these ideas are coming from other folks and are a result of the work of so many people and a lot of folks on these committees. All of this work sort of was kicked off by the Senate Ad Hoc Diversity and Inclusion Committee, which I chaired a couple of years ago. And that's where a lot of my work started, because we held consultations across campus with various groups to talk about how we can make Acadia more diverse and inclusive. And kind of from there, lots of ideas stemmed. But that's in addition to many of the folks who shared excellent ideas in these groups. So the following things are just kind of things that I keep in mind when I'm doing this, and really it's all about the people that I work with. And I think some of the key things that I try to keep in mind as I do this work is about listening to people. Consultation is key, first voice is key, and listening to people and believing people when they speak their truths and what they want to see in the library and what they want to see from their campus is really important. Collaborating with people is key. None of these things I've really done on my own. I've gotten a lot of help. I've also been sort of playing a supporting role in a lot of things, and especially when you're speaking with marginalized or underrepresented groups, you want to be there as a support for those project ideas. Recognizing people and their contributions, also super important. People deserve to be given props when props are due, and everyone brings their own unique skill sets to the table and their own ideas. And I think it's really important to elevate those voices and make sure people feel recognized. And of course, celebrating and embracing the diversity of our communities and really getting enthusiastic about the idea of welcoming all patrons to our library. And I think the final thing that I just wanted to kind of close with is it's really important for myself as a white cis hetero person that I acknowledge my privilege and my responsibilities, and really make sure that my voice isn't taking up space when it shouldn't, and acknowledging that my role has a lot to do with listening and supporting others. I think that's it. I'm sorry, I blew through like a ton of things. It was more to spark creativity than actually go into all the details, but hopefully someone got a good idea.
So, thank you, Maggie.